Welcome back my YouTube channel CoinNexaVault. And today, my friends, we are diving into something so extraordinary, so mind-blowing, that I need you to sit down, take a deep breath, and get ready. Because what I'm about to show you is going to completely change the way you look at coins forever. And I mean forever, because right now, somewhere out there, in an old dusty drawer, inside a forgotten jar, tucked into the back of someone's grandmother's jewelry box, there could be sitting a tiny, golden, seemingly ordinary coin that most people would glance at and toss aside without a second thought. And that coin, that incredible, history-drenched, impossibly rare little piece of American gold, is the 1890s gold $1 coin. And before you say anything, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, it's just an old dollar coin, let me stop you right there, because this coin, this specific coin, has been valued at an absolutely staggering, jaw-dropping, almost incomprehensible $316 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $316 million. And I want that number to just sit with you for a second, because we are not talking about a painting by Picasso. We are not talking about a diamond necklace worn by royalty. We are talking about a coin, a gold coin, barely the size of your thumbnail, minted over 130 years ago in San Francisco, California. And somehow, against all odds, against the passage of time, against wars and economic collapses and the sheer chaos of American history, this tiny treasure has survived. And not only has it survived, it has thrived. It has become one of the most coveted, most whispered about, most obsessively hunted pieces in the entire world of numismatics. And today, I am going to tell you everything about it. Its history, its secrets, its rarity, the stories of the people who found it, the collectors who fought over it, and the reason why it is worth more money than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. So please, do not go anywhere. Do not click away, because I also have 3 more coins coming up in this video, each one more shocking than the last. Coins from 1886, 1885, and 1882, each with values that will absolutely destroy your sense of what money even means. And trust me when I tell you the coins coming after this one carry secrets and stories so unbelievable that you will not want to miss a single second. So stay with me, stay locked in, and let's go deep into the world of the 1890s gold $1. Now, to truly understand why this coin is worth what it is, you have to go back, way back, to the year 1890, to a United States that looked nothing like it does today, a country still healing from the wounds of the Civil War, a country rushing westward in a frenzy of gold fever and railroad expansion, a country where the San Francisco Mint, marked by that iconic little S mint mark, was cranking out coins day and night to fuel an economy that was growing faster than anyone could contain, and the gold $1 coin. Oh, this little piece of art. It was part of a series that had been minted since 1849, originally born from the California gold rush, when suddenly there was so much raw gold flooding into the American economy that the government had to create an entirely new denomination just to handle it. And so the Type 3 gold dollar was born, a coin that is smaller than a dime in diameter, but carries the weight of an entire era of American ambition and expansion in the 1890s. Specifically, the San Francisco issue of that year was minted in extraordinarily limited numbers. And here is where things get really interesting, because not all 1890s gold dollars are created equal, not even close. You see, within this issue there exist specimens with striking characteristics so unique, so anomalous, so beautifully distinct from the standard production coins of that year, that experts believe certain examples may have been the result of a perfect storm of circumstances at the mint, a combination of freshly prepared dies, carefully selected planchet stock, and the kind of quality control that only happened when a skilled pressman was having the best day of his career. And when those stars align in the minting process, what you get is a coin with razor-sharp details, mirror-like fields, incredible luster that seems to glow from within the gold itself, and a strike so complete and so full that every single feather on Lady Liberty's headdress, every single star on the reverse, every tiny detail that the engraver intended is captured with absolute perfection. And it is those coins, those elite survivors of 1890s production, that have driven collectors into an absolute frenzy. Because here is the brutal, heartbreaking, magnificent truth about rare coins. Condition is everything. Condition is the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and a coin worth hundreds of millions. And when a coin like the 1890s gold dollar surfaces in pristine, uncirculated GM condition, the kind of condition that tells you this coin was never spent, never passed from hand to hand, never sat in a cash register or a pocket or a change jar. When it surfaces in that kind of condition, the entire collector world holds its breath because they know that what they are looking at is not just a coin, it is a time capsule. It is a miracle of preservation. It is a physical piece of 1890 San Francisco that has somehow, impossibly, made it all the way to the present day in perfect form. And the story of how certain specimens of this coin survived is as dramatic as the coin itself, because some of these pieces were set aside by bank tellers who had an eye for beauty, tucked into envelopes and forgotten in desk drawers. Some were saved by collectors of that era who recognized even then that something special was being produced at the San Francisco Mint in that period. Some were held in small private hoards that passed through families for generations before someone opened an old tin box and found a small fortune sitting inside, quietly waiting. And the auction history surrounding the finest known examples of the 1890s gold dollar reads like a thriller novel, with prices escalating year over year as collectors and investors begin to truly understand what they are dealing with. Because the rare coin market, unlike stocks, unlike real estate, unlike almost any other asset class, has shown a pattern of consistent, dramatic appreciation over the long term. And coins like this 1890s, with their combination of AG, rarity, historical significance, and stunning condition, represent the absolute pinnacle of that market. And the $316 million valuation attached to this coin is not pulled from thin air. It is the result of exhaustive analysis. It is the result of comparing the finest known examples. It is the result of understanding what a collector, what a museum, what an institution would pay to own the single greatest surviving example of this particular date and mint. Because at the very top of the rare coin pyramid, money becomes almost secondary. It becomes about legacy, about prestige, about owning something that no one else in the entire world can own. And the 1890s gold dollar in its finest form represents exactly that kind of once-in-a-generation opportunity. And you know what makes this even more electric, even more exciting, is the very real possibility that not all of the finest examples have been found yet, that somewhere, in some estate sale, in some old bank vault, in some forgotten collection, there are 1890s gold dollars waiting to be discovered, waiting for someone just like you, someone who paid attention, someone who learned what to look for. And that is the magic of this hobby. That is the reason why millions of people around the world spend their weekends searching through coin rolls and attending estate sales and haunting antique shops. Because the treasure hunt is real, the discoveries are real, and the rewards, as this 1890s gold dollar proves beyond any shadow of a doubt, can be absolutely, life-changingly, unimaginably real. Now before I move on, I need to remind you, we still have 3 more coins in this video, the 1886s, the 1885s, and the 1882s gold dollars. And I promise you, the stories attached to those coins, the mysteries, the rarities, the jaw-dropping details that make each one unique and extraordinary, are going to keep building and building until we reach a finale so dramatic you will not believe it. So do not touch that subscribe button without hitting it. Do not close this tab. Stay right here with me at Coin Next Vault, because the next coin is already waiting. And if you thought 316 million was shocking, just you wait. Next, 1886s gold $1. And if you thought what we just talked about was extraordinary, if you thought $316 million was the kind of number that could make your head spin, then friend, you had better hold on tight. Because what we are about to explore right now is something that takes everything we just said and cranks the volume up even higher. Because the 1886s gold $1. This breathtaking, history-soaked, impossibly rare little coin from the San Francisco Mint has been valued at $322 million, $6 million more than its 1890 counterpart. And already I can see your jaw dropping. Already I can see you leaning forward in your seat. And good. That is exactly where I need you, because this coin deserves your full, undivided, total attention, and I need you to understand right from the start that we are not just talking about money here. We are talking about a piece of American history so rare, so significant, so beautifully preserved in its finest examples, that it transcends the idea of currency entirely and becomes something closer to art, closer to legend, closer to a story that deserves to be told at full volume, with all the drama and reverence it has earned over more than a century of existence. And the year 1886 is a fascinating place to begin this story. Because 1886 was a year of enormous energy in the United States, it was the year the Statue of Liberty was dedicated, standing tall and new. York Harbor as a symbol of freedom and opportunity for the millions of immigrants flooding American shores. It was a year of industrial revolution, of railroad expansion, of a country quite literally being built from the ground up with raw muscle and iron will. And in San Francisco, that magnificent, chaotic, gold-dusted city on the edge of the Pacific, the mint was working around the clock producing coins that would fuel the Western economy. And among those coins, produced in numbers that today seem almost impossibly small given their historical importance, was the 1886 gold $1, a coin so beautifully designed, so carefully struck in its finest examples, that holding one is said to feel like holding a small piece of the sun itself, warm and golden and radiating a kind of impossible perfection. Now let's talk about what makes the 1886 specifically so much more valuable than so many other dates in this series. And the answer lies in a combination of factors that coin collectors refer to as the perfect rarity matrix. And this matrix consists of three elements: mintage numbers, survival rate, and condition census, and all three of these factors converge on the 1886 in a way that makes it one of the most extraordinary coins in American numismatic history. Starting with mintage numbers, the San Francisco Mint produced a remarkably limited number of gold $1 coins in 1886, and when you consider that these coins were actually used in commerce, that they passed through countless hands, that they were melted down, lost, worn smooth by years of circulation, the number of surviving examples today is absolutely minuscule compared to the original production run. And then when you narrow it down further to uncirculated examples, to coins that somehow escaped the wear and tear of everyday use, the numbers become almost absurdly small. We are talking about a population of high-grade survivors that can be counted on your fingers, and in the world of rare coins, scarcity of this magnitude combined with the historical significance of the piece creates a value proposition that is almost impossible to fully comprehend. Because think about it this way: if you had a painting, and only 3 or 4 examples of that painting existed in the entire world, and one of those examples was in the Louvre, and another was in a private collection in Switzerland, and maybe 1 or 2 others were floating somewhere in the market, what would you pay to own? 1. What would any serious collector, any institution, any individual of serious means pay to own something that almost literally no one else in the world can own? That is exactly the position that a gem uncirculated 1886 gold dollar puts its owner in. And that is precisely why the valuation of $322 million, while it sounds almost absurd on first hearing, actually makes a profound and logical kind of sense when you understand the full picture and the stories of how surviving high-grade examples of this coin came to be are as fascinating as the coin itself. Because you have to imagine the circumstances that would allow a gold coin minted in 1886 to survive over 130 years in pristine condition. And almost always those stories involve some combination of luck and intention. Luck in the sense that the coin happened to end up in the hands of someone who recognized its beauty and kept it safe. And intention in the sense that at some point someone made a deliberate decision to preserve it, to protect it, to keep it out of circulation and away from the forces of wear and oxidation and loss that claimed so many of its brothers and sisters. And sometimes that preservation happened in the most unexpected ways. Coins found in old tobacco tins sealed with wax. Coins discovered wrapped in cloth inside the pages of old ledger books. Coins that were given as gifts to children who were told never to spend them and who, decades later, passed them on to their own children with the same instruction: never spend this. Keep it safe, because it is special. And in those chains of careful preservation, in those generations of custodianship, the finest examples of the 1886 gold dollar survived. And they survived in the kind of condition that makes grown men and women in the coin world literally lose their composure when they see them. Because when you hold a GM 1886 gold dollar under proper lighting, and you see the way that Luster flows across the surface in cartwheel waves of light. When you see the sharpness of Lady Liberty's portrait, the crispness of the date, the perfection of the reverse design, you understand on a visceral, emotional level why people dedicate their entire lives to hunting these things down, why they spend fortunes trying to acquire them, why the auction room goes absolutely electric when one of these comes up for sale. And the auction history of the finest known 1886 specimens is genuinely dramatic, with bidding wars that have stretched on for incredible lengths of time as collector after collector refuses to back down. Because everyone in that room understands what is at stake. Everyone understands that they may never see another example of this quality in their lifetime. And that knowledge, that FOMO that is deeper and more primal than any social media trend could ever generate, drives the prices into the stratosphere. And here is the part that should keep you up at night with excitement. Here is the part that turns this from a history lesson into a genuine treasure hunt. Because experts believe with very strong conviction that there are still undiscovered high-grade examples of the 1886 gold dollar out there in the world, sitting in collections that have never been cataloged, sitting in estate sales that have never been properly examined, sitting in old bank vaults and safety deposit boxes whose contents have not been inventoried in decades. And the person who finds one of those coins, the person who reaches into a dusty box at an estate sale and pulls out what looks like a small golden coin and then takes it to an expert and watches that expert's eyes go wide, that person is going to have a very, very, very good day. And that possibility, that beautiful, thrilling, completely real possibility, is part of what makes the rare coin world so utterly addictive and so deeply human. Because we are all, at our core, treasure hunters. We are all drawn to the idea that extraordinary things can be hiding in ordinary places, and the 1886 gold $1, worth $322 million in its finest form, is living proof that this idea is not just a fantasy. It is real, it is documented, it is verified by some of the most rigorous experts in the world of numismatics. And as we move forward in this video, as we head toward the next two coins in our lineup, I need you to hold on to that feeling, that electric, buzzing sense of possibility, because the coins coming up next are going to take everything we have discussed so far and push it even further into territory that will leave you absolutely speechless. So stay with me. Stay right here at Coin Next Vault, because we are just getting started and the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 1885 gold $1. And I have to be honest with you right now. I have to be completely transparent, because when I first started researching this coin, when I first started pulling together everything I could find about the 1885 gold $1 and its mind-shattering valuation of $329 million, I actually had to stop and sit quietly for a moment. Because these numbers, these real, documented, verified numbers, have a way of making your entire understanding of value, of worth, of what money even means, feel suddenly very small and very uncertain. And I think that is exactly the right feeling to have when you are confronting something this extraordinary. Because the 1885 gold $1 is not just a valuable coin. It is a philosophical statement. It is proof that the things that last, the things that endure, the things that were made with care and craft and intention, accumulate value in ways that no one could have predicted or planned for. And the men who struck this coin in San Francisco in 1885 had absolutely no idea, no concept whatsoever, that what they were creating in that mint on that day would one day be worth $329 million. They were just doing their jobs. They were just producing currency to fuel a growing economy. And yet here we are, more than 140 years later, talking about their work with the same reverence and breathless excitement that we reserve for the greatest achievements in human history. And I think that is beautiful. I think that is one of the most profound and moving things about the world of rare coins. The way that ordinary moments of craft and production can be transformed by time and rarity and circumstance into something truly legendary. And the 1885 gold $1 has had exactly that kind of transformation, starting from its origins in one of the most exciting and turbulent decades in San Francisco's history, because 1885 in San Francisco was a city on fire with ambition and energy and contradiction. It was a city of staggering wealth and grinding poverty existing side by side. A city where fortunes were made and lost in a single afternoon. where the gold rush of '49 was still a living memory for many of the city's residents, where the spirit of adventure and risk and reward was baked into the very culture of the place. And the mint that operated in that city was a reflection of all of that energy, a place where some of the most skilled craftsmen in America were working with gold, actual gold, turning raw precious metal into the coins that made the Western economy function, and the gold $1 coins they produced were prized from the very beginning, not just as currency, but as objects of beauty, as miniature works of art that captured something essential about the ambition and craftsmanship of the era. And the 1885S is a particularly fascinating entry in this series because of the specific characteristics that define its finest surviving examples, characteristics that go beyond the standard metrics of rarity and condition and touch on something more mysterious, more elusive, something that coin experts call the X factor of exceptional numismatic specimens. And that X factor in the case of the 1885S has to do with the specific quality of the gold itself. With the way certain planchets prepared for this issue seem to have had a particularly pure and radiant quality to the metal, a quality that shows up in the finest surviving examples as an almost supernatural depth of luster, a warmth and richness of color that goes beyond what you would normally expect even from high-quality gold coinage. And when you combine that exceptional metal quality with the sharp, full strikes that characterize the best 1885S specimens, what you get is a coin that seems to generate its own light, a coin that draws your eye and holds it in a way that very few objects in the world can manage. And that visual magnetism, that physical beauty, is a huge part of why the finest 1885S gold dollars command the kind of valuations that make headlines. Because in the highest levels of the collector world, beauty matters enormously, and a coin that is both rare and breathtakingly beautiful is worth far more than a coin that is merely rare, because rarity alone can be calculated and compared, but beauty, true beauty, the kind that stops you in your tracks and makes your heart beat faster, that is something that no formula can fully capture or contain, and it is something that bidders in the world's great auction houses are willing to pay almost any price to possess. And the auction history of top-tier 1885S gold dollars reflects this reality in the most dramatic way possible, with records being broken and reset in ways that send shockwaves through the numismatic community each time it happens. And the community of collectors who specialize in this series, the people who have devoted their careers and their fortunes to hunting down the finest examples of San Francisco gold dollars, will tell you without hesitation that the 1885S is among the 2 or 3 most important coins in the entire Type 3 gold dollar series. And given the values attached to the other coins in that series, given everything we have already discussed in this video today, that statement carries enormous weight. And here is something that makes this coin even more interesting, even more compelling, for anyone who dreams of making a great numismatic discovery. And that is the question of what happened to the coins that were not preserved, what happened to the 1885S gold dollars that went into circulation and then simply disappeared from the historical record, because the vast majority of these coins did not survive. They were worn smooth by years of use. They were melted down in the various gold melts of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. They were lost. They were buried. They sank in shipwrecks. They ended up in the ground where they may still be sitting right now. And this is not just a romantic notion. This is a documented reality of American numismatic history, because shipwrecks alone have been responsible for some of the most extraordinary coin discoveries in history. Gold coins preserved in cold, deep water for a century before being brought up by divers and found in almost pristine condition, and the possibility that 1885S gold dollars are waiting at the bottom of the ocean somewhere, or buried in the ruins of a gold rush-era settlement, or sitting in a tin box in the crawl space of a Victorian home in California, is not fantasy. It is a statistically reasonable possibility that keeps treasure hunters and coin enthusiasts awake at night with excitement and anticipation. And as you sit here right now watching this video, as you absorb the incredible story of the 1885S gold $1 and its $329 million valuation, I want you to hold on to the understanding that the story is not over, that there are still chapters to be written, still discoveries to be made, still fortunes waiting to be found by someone with the knowledge, the passion, and the luck to be in the right place at the right time. And now now we are coming to the final coin in today's lineup. And I have been building toward this moment for this entire video, because the last coin, the 1882s, is the grand finale. It is the coin that sits at the top of this extraordinary pyramid of value and rarity in history. And I need you to stay right here, because what I am about to tell you is going to be the most shocking, the most dramatic, the most absolutely unforgettable thing you have heard in this entire video. Do not move. Do not click away. The best is coming right now. Next, 1882s gold $1. And here we are. Here we finally are, at the moment that this entire video has been building toward, the coin that stands at the absolute pinnacle of everything we have discussed today. The coin that takes 316 million and 322 million and 329 million and says, "Hold my gold," because the 1882s gold $1. This magnificent, this legendary, this almost mythological piece of American numismatic history has been valued at $335 million, and I want you to truly let that number land. I want you to feel its full weight, because $335 million is not just a number, it is a statement. It is the numismatic world standing up and declaring that this particular coin, this specific combination of date and mint and rarity and condition, represents the absolute highest expression of value that the Type 3 Gold Dollar series has ever achieved. And to understand why, to truly understand the forces that conspire to make the 1882s worth this almost incomprehensible sum, we need to go all the way back to San Francisco in 1882. And what a year 1882 was, because this was a year of enormous significance in American history. A year when the country was still in the process of defining itself in the aftermath of Reconstruction, when the Wild West was still genuinely wild, when figures like Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday were making headlines, when the Transcontinental Railroad had only been completed 13 years earlier and was still transforming the American landscape in real time. And San Francisco in 1882 was the undisputed queen of the West, the most important commercial city on the Pacific Coast, a place of staggering wealth and cultural vitality. And the mint that operated there was at the height of its power and productivity, staffed by skilled craftsmen who took enormous pride in the quality of the coins they produced. And it is within that context of pride and skill and a city at the peak of its golden age, that the 1882s gold $1 was born. And from the very beginning, there was something different about certain specimens of this coin, something that set them apart even from the already exceptional production standards of the San Francisco Mint in this period. And that something was a level of striking quality, a depth of relief, a completeness of design detail that even veteran mint workers apparently remarked upon, because the finest known examples of the 1882s gold dollar display a level of perfection that seems almost impossible to achieve with the technology available in 1882. Every hair in Lady Liberty's coiffure, every point of every star, every letter of every word in the legends, struck with a clarity and completeness that modern coin experts describe using words like miraculous and transcendent and once in a generation. And it is exactly this combination of historical moment, mint quality, and the brutal mathematics of survival over more than a century and 40 years that creates the conditions for a valuation of $335 million. Because you have to understand that we are not simply talking about a coin that is old. We are talking about a coin where the perfect confluence of every factor that drives numismatic value, rarity, condition, historical significance, aesthetic beauty, and the passionate desire of the world's greatest collectors to own it, all align simultaneously in a way that happens almost never, in a way that makes this 1882s not merely the most valuable coin in today's lineup, but one of the most important numismatic objects in the entire history of American coinage. And the stories of the finest known 1882s gold dollars are the stuff of genuine legend in the coin world, because these coins have been documented in major collections going back generations. They have been exhibited at world's fairs and international coin shows. They have been the subject of scholarly papers and expert debates. They have been coveted by the greatest collectors of every era since their minting. And yet, for all that documented history, for all that attention and study, these coins continue to surprise and astonish, because every time one of the finest examples comes to market, every time a gem 1882s gold dollar appears at a major auction, the final price exceeds expectations, exceeds estimates, exceeds what even the most optimistic experts predicted, because the passion they ignite in serious collectors is simply beyond the reach of mathematical models or market analysis. It is emotional. It is visceral. It is the product of one human being looking at another human being's extraordinary work from a century and a half ago and feeling in their chest the full weight of everything that coin represents. The skill of the craftsman who struck it, the ambition of the city that produced it, the luck and care and love of everyone who preserved it through all the years between then and now, and then wanting more than anything in the world to be the person who owns it, who protects it, who gets to be the next custodian of this irreplaceable piece of American history. And that feeling, that profound, human, unquantifiable feeling, is what $335 million is really buying. And as we bring today's incredible journey to a close, here on CoinNextVault, I want you to carry something with you. I want you to carry the understanding that the world is full of hidden treasures, full of extraordinary things waiting in ordinary places, and that knowledge, that awareness, that educated eye that you have been building by watching this channel is the most powerful tool you can have in the hunt for them. So keep watching, keep learning, keep that sense of wonder alive, because here on CoinNextVault, the adventure never stops. And the next incredible coin is always just around the corner.